So in this video, we're going to talk about voting rights, because civil rights is equated to voting rights, and it's supposed to be how you participate in the political process and how you have a voice in the political process. So we have to talk about the difference between where you vote and what you're voting for when you vote, to realize voting as a power and as a voice. Okay? Your right to vote doesn't mean that you have the right to vote in an election. So what we're talking about here is the difference between suffrage, which is equal participation in a legislative assembly, like a democracy. We have to remember that a democracy is a legislative assembly. All are assembled as equals with equal suffrage to reach a majority consensus of all that are assembled. That's a democracy. What are you doing in a democracy? Well, you're discussing matters of a common interest and you're voting to reach a majority consensus for what you will do. It's an act. It determines how you act. Okay? So, what are we assembling? Or what are we doing at the voting booth? Can the voting booth be a legislative assembly where you vote to reach a majority consensus? No. So this comes down to the difference between, people want to talk about it's a representative democracy. No. It's either democracy or it's not. And what are you representing? Are you representing political affiliation or ideological affiliation? Or are you representing the people, the demographic diversity of the people? If all the people have a right to participate and with equal suffrage to reach a majority consensus, then it's not an assembly based on ideology or political affiliation, which is what we're doing today. You can't represent all the people by political affiliation. Right now, even the Democrats and Republicans are only 24% of the people together. How does that represent all the people? It doesn't. And we constantly talk about underrepresented groups and all this other kind of crap. Why? Because you're trying to shoehorn them into the Democrats and Republicans, instead of doing what you're supposed to do, which is form an exact demographic representation of all the people to participate in the legislative process as part of the most numerous legislative branch. That's not political, okay, at all. And then what are the three parts? What are the parts of the legislative process? Well, you put a question. That means you raise a question. You deliberate that question, which means that you consider the question and determine cost-benefit analysis for that question. in a relationship, and then you determine the question, which means you vote to choose the point of cost benefit that most people are willing to accept, because on one side they get benefits, on the other side it costs them money, so they have to pay taxes for the benefits, so they have to choose the point on the curve with the best cost benefit relationship. That's what you're doing when you vote in a legislative assembly to reach a majority consensus. You're making a choice on that cost benefit curve so that you know how much you have to pay for the benefits that you want. Okay? So if your right is to participate equally in that legislative process with equal suffrage to reach a majority consensus, that's a different vote than at the booth to choose between the Democrats and Republicans to assemble and distribute, because that vote is power. That is the power. You have the power to do what? To reach a majority consensus of all the people. You're not forming a majority based on party affiliation to decide what they want to do. You reach a majority consensus in a legislative assembly to do what everybody agrees to do. Huge difference. So what we're doing today is, that's not power. That's not voting. Voting isn't suffrage. You're not participating. You're a fan in the stands. You're choosing between the Democrats and the Republicans for who gets to govern and do what? Make policy, foreign and domestic, that you have to pay for. And they ain't ask you how much you're willing to pay. They take your money through taxes without asking you anything or having it associated with anything. There's no amount that you're trying to raise associated with the taxation that you're doing on people. Okay? And the people have to agree on that cost-benefit relationship before the taxes are assessed to pay for it, not after. Okay? You don't just raise a bunch of money and then decide how you want to spend it and then say, this is taxpayers are choosing this because more people are Democrats than are Republicans, or more people voted for Republicans than Democrats at the booth. No. We all have to be, our right is to participate in that process. And this is the problem with defining and determining rights. Who are you to determine or to define what my right to participate is, if it's an equal right? Who are you to tell me how I can participate? And then determine how you're going to give me that right. You can't. I don't have to fight for rights that I'm already entitled to. And you don't have any right to define my rights and give me what you want me to have. Determine my rights. Wrong. I have just much right as you do to define and determine what our rights are, and we have to do it by what? A majority consensus of all the people, because we have to agree. Okay? We don't have to allow you to govern us. What's governed is collective decision making, not the people. You're asking us for money for services, collective services. We have a right to participate in how that relationship is formed and the choice that is determined that we make and how we pay for it. Yes, we have the right to determine how we pay taxes to pay for those collective services. And I'm sorry, but taxes on income and wealth is slavery. Okay? You're taking money from me just what? Just because I have a job? Or just because I have a good job? Or just because I have a lot of money? That's not a good enough reason to take my money from me. Okay? Now, if you tax me for my footprint in the society through property, commerce, and consumption, that's a different story. Those taxes are equitable because they are based on your footprint in society. But you can't just tell me that just because I went to school and got a good job because I'm smart, that I have to pay more money than the next person. Or that my business is successful, I have to give more money to the less successful. Sorry. And all taxes that aren't part of that dynamic to raise collective revenue must be per capita equal. That's why the Constitution of the United States does not tax individuals. It taxes the state per capita equal for each state. That's what representation and direct taxes are apportioned based on each state's proportion of the population. It's per capita equal. Per capita equal representation, per capita equal direct taxes for the state. Okay? The people are in the state, yes. They are assembled in the most numerous legislative branch of the state, which means that the people are the state. Okay? Not some dirt with a line drawn around it and then Colorado posted on it. That's not a state. The people are the state. All the collective natural resources in the state are the state. Okay? Not just a marker on a board. Okay? So we have to get over this idea that participating in voting at the voting booth to choose Democrats and Republicans is participation and that is power. No, it's not power. All you're doing there is competitive politics and you're choosing which team gets to run with the ball. And you're a fan in the stands. And it's driven by what? Corporate sponsors. And that, I learned today, is plurality. Okay? Or a plurocracy. That's when the rich people determine policy. Thank you.